Hey everyone, it's Jason. Welcome to another Red Dragon Ing unboxing. This is for set number 5, the character Trove. This is when I started giving them all specific names. So this is an interesting set because this is a big giant box. So this is also a storage solution. So it's going to show on the cover. Here's a really neat brand new artwork of all the different characters released up to the point of this set. So it's sets 1 through 5. As well as a bunch of the ally sets and characters like that. So there's more than that. More than what there normally would be. So every set of Red Dragon Ing, every big box set usually has at least 4 characters. They're all standalone, so you can pick up set 5 here by itself if you want to start with that. Play that 100% on its own. And then if you want to pick up set 2, because you watched my video for that one, hey, pick up that one. Then you want to pick up set 8 because you like the idea. Cool, you can do that. If you pick up the ally packs, which have 1 to 2 characters, you can add them in the game. I don't know off the top of my head if they're going to have like all the counters and all that stuff you're going to need for them. So you might still need to have at least one of the big box sets to be able to play as them. So you might not be able to buy like a 2-player set or just 2 single packs and play against each other. Unless you want to use your own counters and tokens. It's going to have all the cards you need, except that they're not going to have, I don't think they're going to have drink decks. So that'd be the only thing. You probably need at least one other set to have a drink deck. If you want to know more about how this game is played, you can either check out my Red Dragon Ing video 1, which I go through the rule book and I kind of talk about it and go over what the different types of cards are. Or you can go to Slugfest Games website here. And they have little tutorial videos on there, and they'll explain some of that stuff probably better than I will. I'm not going to go over everything in this video, because it just takes too long to go through it in every single video. Other things kind of neat with this also has an extra sheet, which has some character-specific rules. So, if you watch some of the earlier base sets, like before set 5 here, they have, the characters are all very, for the most part, were very, I don't want to say simple, but they had, they had just one deck. And then later expansions, some of the ally packs, and this one, they add characters that have extra decks. So, like, for example, in this set, we have Lizwick the Collector. Also has a special little mini deck of item cards. So it adds a little extra gameplay element. Here's a side of some of the different ally decks you can get. A couple different ones there. Not every single one. This is a storage box. Yeah, it's going to have room to hold all your cards in there. Which we can see they're going to fit in there. You know, they fit right to the top pretty much. A little bit of room in there to move around. We're going to get a bunch of foam blocks so that you can, you know, store cards between them or, you know, load up one side. You probably don't have to lay some down until you buy a bunch. As I get more and more sets, I'll probably revisit this video showing how everything looks when I have more sets. I currently, right now, as of this video, only have 2 other sets, so it's not going to be enough to fill up even one of these trays, probably. This is a fun little part they have here, so they have some components. So what this is for is, one of the other things this game comes with are some special boards. So for your player boards, you can stick them in there, and they also come with pouches and stuff to like hold your coins. You can drop them in like this end here. If you have little special smaller bags of like that, or maybe like little items like we got the little beads, you can put them in these smaller pouches here. So that's kind of fun as well. You get 2 of these big giant bags, cloth bags for holding different things, as well as a bunch of these little plastic ones to put your various counters in there. So that's really fun. So rather than just tossing you in to this box and being like, hey, you figure out where your things are going to slide around in here, they made a little like extra tray for it, which I really appreciate. We're also going to get these extra little counters in here Or chips, we have like some for hearts and some for fortitude and some for alcohol. So if you want to use a picture token instead of the little beads, maybe it might be easier for like a newer player to remember, oh, this is alcohol, this is health, versus having colored beads. That's kind of neat. And this little token here is for one of the characters. I filled this one bag. I shouldn't say bing, it's bag. This is all our gold coins. This is just the stuff from the base set. There's a decent amount in there. I can't really show you. I'm not going to dump the bag out. But yeah, it's filled up to there. So it's about half full. It also introduces some 5s. So if you start getting a bunch of gold, you can actually upgrade to 5s. Which is really a nice thing to do for some of these games. So the 2 other things I want to go over before we start getting into the characters is we're also going to get these dividers. So these are just cardboard, so nothing super fancy. I know like some of the other games you can get like the DC deck building or Smash Up have big plastic ones. These are just kind of cardboard, but it's gonna have all the different characters plus what set they're from up at the top. So we have sets. So we have little cardboard things for sets up through set 5, which is the current set we have. And then we have a bunch of the allies, and there's more that have been released since, after this, because they're up to like set 8 plus tons of expansions. But these are your dividers for your characters. Also, they have ones for each set of the drinks, which I really like, so that way you can keep your drinks separate. And then this is for Warriors and Rogues deck, which is actually the only double-sided here. This is one of the expansions, or some of the Kickstarter stuff. There's a way to get this. It's the deck they play in the game while they're gambling. So if you've seen one of the gambling cards, it is those cards there, that red, blue, and green cards. That's called a game called Rogues and Warriors. They actually made a physical game you can play with it. So that is really fun too. The other thing that is semi-interesting with these character cards, these dividers, is so some of the original ones on the back, they just have the information that was on the box. It has a little story about them, it says they're good and bad, which I thought was really cool. The thing I don't like about it, though, is because, so like sets 1 and 2 only have that. Then as we start getting into later sets, they have setups, which explain how the characters work, because they have different things. So like set 3, so like set 4, this guy goes back to a regular one, but then 5, some of these do, some of them don't, just depends on what skills and stuff they have, which I like the fact they have set up things on the back, so you don't have to go grab another book for it. It just sucks that some of them have like this cool like information about the character, and then now this guy doesn't. So if I want to know about First Mate Remy, I have to go look at the back of the box. I kind of wish they just would have, if they weren't going to do them all with that, they just would have had just setups. So that's kind of one downside there. Because like all of the allies have some sort of special setup as well. And then all the couple of the guys from level 4 or level 5 have it too. So like less than half the characters have little stories, the other ones don't. It just would have been nice if they would have kept it the same. Also, on the back of the drink decks, they show you what's actually in each one, so you know exactly how many you're going to get. So, like in the first deck, you got 3 Light Ale, 3 Dark Ale, 3 Dragon's Breath, and 3 wines, 3 some of the big ones. And then by the last one, you're getting 1 of each of those, because I have so many other different ones. And the same thing, 1 of each in set 4, 1 each in set 3, but set 2 you're still getting 2 of each of those, because they didn't have enough different cards. But I like that that's what they definitely do, is they show you what's on there. So again, if everything ever gets mixed up, nice easy way to do that. And then yeah, these will slide right into our deck, so if I have this card there, I can play her there. It's not the correct character, but just for the sake of showing it. Then when I put the character card there, you can easily see over the top of these characters. So yeah, you can easily tell which ones are which. So it's actually very nice, depending on how you do it. Although I don't usually put them in front, I would usually put mine behind, is how I at least do my decks. So that would be my first deck. So then it's whatever character's in front of it. So it'd be Gertie's deck. Gertie's deck is here, Fiona's deck is here, Zot's is here. That's how I like to do it. So if I'm looking for them, I can look, oh, it's the card right in front of it, versus having to then pull it forward and dig out the card behind it. Yeah, so that is the different box stuff that all came in there. Now, I'm not going to recommend taking out all the little tokens and all the gold from every set. So if you have all 5 sets, you're probably not going to want to mix... you're probably not going to want to mix every single counter into the bag and everything into the bag for everything. Just because if you have... Are you going to need 5 sets of gold for everything? Probably not. Especially if you get 8, or if any of the regular characters come with 1 or 2. You're probably not going to need all that stuff, so you might need to put some somewhere else. Alright. We got one other thing to show them. We're going to look at the characters. So the other thing that they added to this box are these little guys. Let me move this out of the way. So they added special little player boards. So the original ones were these big giant boards, which I've shoved in a box right now. I don't want to dig them out. But they have like a full size for you to put each of your deck, discard, and drink me piles. And then they had little boards. So now what they did is they made them each a little bit more personal. So they put a character on there. Still has the turn order, but now every character has their own little board. It still has a spot at the bottom. Stick your deck down here, discard pile in the middle, drink me pile at the end. And you have your health and your fortitude markers. Just the same there, so you're going to get the same thing for all the different characters. So if we're playing, and it just goes through all the different ones we have for all the different sets. But what we're also going to get is some of these characters have unique, extra special things. Like Cormac here has a rage pile. So he's got spots up there specifically for his rage piles to have them separate. Erin has some spot up here for form cards. Plus she has a special effect here. It says you may become an elf. If you're a tree, you must become an elf. So it actually lists one of her special rules right there. Which is really, this kind of makes this a little bit... You know, these are just kind of like little, not quite plastic, but not really cardboard. I don't know what type of material that is. So they're not as durable as the other boards. The other boards are a lot more durable. But yeah, these definitely make the game a little bit more personal, plus the spots for your cards. So you have like, Howden here has totem deck, totem discard pile, and he puts his totems at the top. And you see not every character has that. Kaelin has a Wolfric's deck. Litwick, who's in this set, actually has item cards. So you have an item deck, item discard. She has special things for her card's hand size. So I'm going to actually set her aside because when we get there, we'll explain that. We have the Witch Doctor. Let's finish jumping through all these guys really quick. We have a Brewmaster has some different potions. Pookie the Vicious. You can play as Pookie by himself. So he has Gizmos up at top here. Zariah has a Chimera card. And Brother Bastion has some prayer cards. So that's actually really fun. And then, presumably, every set that came out after 5 will have a board for the new character. Same thing with the deck divider. So that way, if you bought them, you're going to have these extra things sitting around unless you buy this big box. Alright, so let's jump in and look at our characters. We're going to read little profiles here first. So I'm going to zoom out as much as I can. So, Lizwick the Collector, Lizwick's collection is the envy of academies, guilds, and hoarders alike. The bag. They like their stuff back. Zatan, the Drunken Master. The good. Zatan's drunken fighting technique makes him a formidable foe. The bad. Sometimes he's actually just drunk. Joram, the Trickster. The good. Joram's talent for misdirection makes him the perfect weapon against enemy spellcasters. The bad. It also makes him the perfect weapon against his friends' gold and their sobriety, their patience. And then the last character is we have Sarah the Fleet-Footed. She hones her skills by sparring with her friends. The bad, sometimes she does this without warning them first. So we got a couple of different characters. Now, if this is just a deck box with like, oh, it came with like the dividers, the things, that would have been fine probably on its own. Then even still, even if it was like, hey, it came with like a couple of extra drink cards or something, or one character, probably would have been okay. But the fact that it came with 4 characters, so it works just like a regular set, is really cool. So you could buy this first if you want. Then as you buy more sets, you can keep adding them into this box right away. Alright, so we're going to look at Lizwick the Collector. They also started adding gnome or race and classes on there. I kind of wish they had it for the original ones, but they didn't. I don't know when they started doing that. It's not that big of a deal, but it's kind of cool. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to jump through the same cards that are in everybody's deck. We have 6 copies of Gambling, I'm In. Start a round of gambling or take control of a round of gambling. 2 copies of I Raise. Take control of a round of gambling. Each player, including you, must ante again. 2 copies of Winning Hand. Take control of a round of gambling. The next card to take control must be a cheating card. The wench thinks you should stop playing with the drinks. Negate. Sometimes cards that change the effect of a drink. This includes negate, ignore, split drinks, pass drinks to other players, or alter any effects. This drink can only be affected by I don't think so. 2 copies of Wench, bring some drinks for my friends. You may play this card during order drink phase on your turn. Pay 1 gold to the inn. Order 2 additional drinks. Drink may be placed on any other player's drink me piles. Tip the Wench. Pick a player. They may pay 1 gold to the inn. Or not they may, they must. And then finally we have the first character card, which is I don't think so. So that runs through all the cards that everybody has. So I go through the other decks. I'm not going to read through all those again. We'll just skip through them pretty quick. So Lizwick has her special cards. So when we get to some of them, we'll explain what they do. What's up your sleeve? Take control of a round of gambling. Pick another player and force them to leave the round of gambling. Oops, I lost my cards. Take control of a round of gambling. 2 copies of Hold This for a Sec. Be careful, it's snappy. It's a mouse trap if you can't see it. Pick another player, they lose 1 fortitude. 2 copies of You Were Going Through My Bag Again, weren't you? Pick another player, they lose 1 fortitude and pay you 1 gold. Sticky Mitts. Pick any player, they pay you 1 gold. 2 copies of I'll save this for next time. Ignore a drink. Not now. I'm negotiating a deal. You may play this anytime. You must ante. Instead of anteing, leave the round of gambling. Or ignore a drink. I always pack an extra coin for emergencies. You may play this card when you are about to lose gold. Use gold from the inn rather than your own stash. Alright, so let's start talking about some of her special cards. So another satisfied customer. Discard an equipment item. If you do, gain 2 gold from the inn. So she has a special item deck, which is going to have special item cards, which are going to look different. So we'll look over them in just a sec. We'll finish going through these cards. Let me try my Elven Potion Amplifier on that. Add 2 alcohol content to a drink. No, I'm not getting extra cards. Cheating. Take control of a round of gambling. This also has a picture of her satchel on the bottom, which will have an effect, which, again, I'll explain once we're done going through all these. Help me out, guys. Magic items aren't free. You negotiate with others. Each player pays you 1 gold. Of course I'm winning. I'm actually paying attention. Take control of a round of gambling. 2 copies of, oh, you've discovered my anti-theft devices. Pick another player, they lose 2 fortitude. 2 copies of, let's see what we got here. Just the treasure bag. No thanks, I'm taking inventory. Ignore a drink. 2 copies of, I need to duck out for a second. Ignore an action, sometimes, or any card that affects your fortitude, alcohol content, or gold. You may not use this to ignore a round of gambling. And 2 copies of, where did I put that thing? Pick another player, they lose 2 fortitude. So she has a special item deck, and then on her player card here, she has an item deck and an item discard pile in a hand size of 7, 6, and 5. So normally you have a hand size of 7, so she can carry 1 extra item up on top here. So if she has this card here, she put it here. When she has a second card, she puts it there. If she has a third card, she puts it there. If you use one of these cards, everything slides over. And that determines how big her hand size is. So she can carry 1 extra item without a problem. But then every time she gains another card, her overall hand size is reduced. So what we're going to do here is just look at her back of her deck divider card, which explains how she works. So some of Lizwick's cards have the bag symbol on them. When these cards are resolved, reveal the top card of the item deck after all the effects on the card have been carried out. If it's an immediate item, follow the instructions and discard it. Otherwise, equip the item by putting it in front of you. If you have at most 3 items equipped, if you reveal a 4th item, you must immediately discard one of your equipped items. The more items you have equipped, your hand size is smaller. Your hand size is 6, and you have 2 items equipped, and 5 if you have 3. And then playing items, if you have a subtype, you may play an item whenever you can play a card of that type from your hand. Alright, so then we'll look at what her actual cards are. So she gets this extra little deck. So she's going to have a Holy Chalice, which says sometimes. So what that means is you play this, it's going to sit out there. And then when you have a chance to play a sometimes card, you can use this. So it says reduce the alcohol content of a drink by 2. At least you can sell it for another drink. She has Antitoxin. You may play this card immediately after you gain alcohol content. Lose 1 alcohol content. Just the thing. A Monster's Eyeball. Add the effect of lose 1 fortitude to a drink. How did that get in there? Loopy Straw. Reduce the alcohol content of a drink by 1. Slurp. Jagged Monster 2. So this is immediate. So as soon as you draw this, you have to do this effect. Lose 1 fortitude. You may reduce or ignore this fortitude loss through it as though it came from an action card. Still as sharp as the day I pulled it out. So now you might be thinking originally, like, oh, she has all these extra cards she can have out. So all this is more or less doing is increasing her hand size, giving her other cards to play. So now it's giving her a huge extra advantage of like, oh, she can play 5, 6 cards at a time. But some of these you get like this. You draw this, it's gonna hurt you. Or like this one, we have Cracked Firebomb. Discard another equipment item if you have one. Danger. Risk of spontaneous combustion. Discard immediately if cracked. Yeah, so some of these will do that stuff, some won't. You could have an old sandwich, which does nothing. So that's where I left that. Omnisite Monocle. Pick a player, look at their drink me pile, and put it back in any order. Let's just see what we've got over there. The Decanter of Transmutation. If you play this after any player reveals a drink with possible chases, instead of its usual effects, that drink has the effect gain 2 alcohol content. Any non-drink cards that change the drink's effect still affect it normally. For the sophisticated drunkard. You can get a bad card like this, the Needle of Sleeping. For the rest of the current player's turn, you may not play cards. You ignore all effects, and players may not pick you when a card effect asks them to pick a player. Players may still order you drinks. If the drink deck is reshuffled, you still must pay. If it is your turn ends now. Skip any phases that have not yet occurred. Any unresolved cards are discarded and do not take effect. Any anti-gold goes to the end. Ouch, what was this? Extra card. This is a cheating card. Take control of a round of gambling. You guys aren't trying hard enough. Stabby gloves. Pick another player, they lose 1 fortitude. Players may reduce or ignore this fortitude as though it came from an action card. The best defense is more offense. The portable hole, sometimes. Ignore a drink. How does this even work? Ring of Invisibility. Ignore an action, sometimes, or anytime card that affects your fortitude or alcohol content. Or ignore an event. This card may ignore any event, including drink events, sea events, or dungeon events. So these are cards from other sets. You should get those runes translated someday. Gold on a string. You may play this card when you are about to lose gold. You don't have to pay. I got this for a steal. 1 foot pole. No effect. I only need 9 more. Cursed Relic of Tapor. Discard 2 cards from your hand. Grrr. And then Hot Potato. Pick another player, they lose 1 fortitude. You also lose 1 fortitude. The player may reduce or ignore this effect as though it came from an action card. Hot, 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 hot. Yeah, it's just kind of fun. She gets some extra little cards. Having more options out does reduce her hand size. So she can have 3 cards out all times. But if she does that, she can only have those 3 cards plus 2 other cards in her hand. So she can only have a total of 5 cards out at a time. 5, 6, 7, 8. So she always gets 1 extra card basically. But yeah, they're not like, some of them are bad cards, like the immediate ones, and it just kind of makes it a little bit more interesting. So let's look at the other character that has a special thing. We're going to look at Zakan. Alright. Zakan the Drunken Master, a half-elf monk. So we got his normal cards, which we'll fly through pretty quick. Gambling, I'm in. I raise. Winning hands. Don't play with the drinks. Tip the waitress. Bring some drinks for my friends, and I don't think so. Alright. So then what his special thing is he gets this little chi bottle. So basically how this works is like this. So I'm going to have this. So he has a chi counter that starts there at the same spot as his health count, or has his drunken counter. So he has both of them. And then what will happen is throughout the game, he's going to have various cards that will let him spend his chi. So instead of upping his alcohol content, he can up his chi, his, what's it called here exactly? His drunken chi. So what he can do is he can keep upping this, and then there's cards that let him spend it instead. But if anything says to move, if he gains fortitude or he gets drunk, he has to move both. So if he just played that card that says he has to gain 2 alcohol content, his alcohol content is going to move from 3 to 5, and this is going to move from 6 to 8. So they're always going to move together unless it specifically says something with his drunken chi. So he's trying to find one of them cards. So he has like a card here that says another sip, gain 1 drunken chi. So I'll let him move that 1 farther away. But what happens though is that the combination of the 2 of these is your total drunkenness. So let's say he's at 10 and 5 right now. He's actually at 15. So his counter would be at 15. So your fortitude would still have to be under 15. So if it's at 16, he's still fine. But if it goes down to 15, because those 2 are added up, let me zoom back out a bit instead of moving this. Yeah, so since this is at 10 at 5, he has a total drunken content, alcohol content of 15. One is regular, and then it's drunken chi, and it would equal his fortitude, he would lose. So you can up this to kind of pay for that, and then you can use other cards to spend it to reduce it back down. But you have to kind of watch what you're doing. Otherwise, you could end up losing from getting too drunk and passing out. Alright, so now we kind of explained that. We'll go through his cards. It'll make a little bit more sense. So he's got an empty mug holds no water. Pick another player. They gain 2 alcohol content. And he's got, I'm not as think as you drunk I am. Pick another player. They lose 2 fortitude. As you play this card, you may spend 3 drunken chi. If you do, that fortitude can't be reduced, negated, or ignored. So if you have the extra chi, you could spend it. It says, one shouldn't be a cheat to beat a drunkard. You may play this card when another player plays a cheating card. You may not play if you've already left the round of gambling. Negate the cheating card, you win this round of gambling. 2 copies of Catch. Pick another player, they lose 2 fortitude. If you have 3 or more drunken chi, they lose 3 fortitude instead. 2 copies of Monk's Fireball. As you play this card, spend any amount of drunken chi. This amount can be 0. Each other player loses X plus 1 fortitude, where X is half the amount of drunken chi you spent rounded down. So if you spent 4, it would end up being 2, so it'd be 2 plus 1 would be 3. It's just to be aware if your drunken chi is getting really high because you keep spending on that. Like maybe you have this card sitting in your hand, spend a bunch instead of upping your alcohol content, up your drunken chi, then just spend all your drunken chi on this one card to hit a bunch of someone else for their fortitude. So that's a possible way to do that. It's also risky getting that too high. Thousand Palm Strike. Pick another player, they lose 2 fortitude. Or, pick another player, they lose fortitude equal to your drunken chi. Again, if it's really high, very powerful. But you're also risking if someone hits you or something, it drops your fortitude way down quick. Outside noisy, inside empty. As you play this card, spend any amount of drunken chi. Increase your fortitude or decrease your alcohol content by the amount of your drunken chi spent. 2 copies of all the stratagems, knowing when to quit is the best. You may play this card when you must ante. Instead of ante, you may leave the round, or ignore a drink. In a bet, there is a fool and a thief. You may play this card when you must ante. Instead of anteing, leave the round, gain 1 drunken chi. A drowning man is not troubled by the rain. You reduce the alcohol content of a drink you are about to drink by 3. Gain 1 drunken chi. Reducing a drink's alcohol content below 0 reduces it to 0. Master the spirits, or the spirits will be your master. Ignore an action, sometimes or any time card that would make you gain alcohol content, or ignore a drink. In either case, gain 1 drunken chi. Drunken Acrobatics. Ignore an action, sometimes or any time card that affects your fortitude. 2 copies of Careful, you almost made me spill my drink. You may play this card when an action, sometimes or any time card would make you lose 1 fortitude. Reduce the fortitude lost by 1. If your drunken chi is 3 or higher, ignore that card instead. 2 copies of I Got This Well Being Drunk. You may play this card when you are about to lose gold. Use gold from the inn rather than your own stash. So you want to fight. After you play this card, immediately after you use fortitude played by another player, that player loses 2 fortitude. Accidental Spill. Gain 1 drunken chi, then reduce the alcohol content of a drink you are about to drink by the amount of your drunken chi. 2 good friends and fights. Good fights. Each player, including you, reveals a drink with a possible chaser from the drink deck and drinks it. If a player reveals a drink event before revealing, they must discard and reveal again. The reed bends in the wind, and I am a drunken reed. Ignore an action sometimes or anytime card that affects your fortitude or alcohol content. And then his last 2 cards are another sip, gain 1 drunken chi. So yeah, this kind of like Wiswick with Sakim, because he has an extra counter, is going to be a little bit trickier to play. Just like maybe more of an advanced character, just because instead of just playing the cards in your hand, you have to keep a track of that other chi meter and do stuff with that. And if you're gonna be like, well, I don't really have to worry about that. I don't have to deal with that. Because you can use it in place of your alcohol. If it was just this card affected my chi up or down one way or the other, that'd be different. But since it can replace your alcohol, you have to kind of pay attention to how you want to do that. Yeah, it's alright. You know, a little bit trickier cards. There's nothing wrong with that. So now we have Joran the Trickster, a human mage. So of course, we have all our regular gambling, raise, winning hand, playing with drinks, bring my friend some drinks, tip the wench, and we're missing another copy of a wench card. Or we're not. Maybe we're not. Maybe he just doesn't have all of them. I thought they always had 2 copies of the bring my bring a drink for my friend, but I guess he doesn't have one. And then we have I don't think so. So there's his card. Alright, so we're gonna get into his. So we have Transmute Peanuts to Gold, which you've seen this card before. You may play this card when you're about to lose gold. Use gold from the inn rather than your own stash. Not now. These spells aren't going to learn themselves. You may play this card when you must ante. Instead, leave the round of gambling or ignore a drink. Are you sure? Negate is sometimes a card that would negate or ignore another card. This card cannot affect I don't think so, or the wench thinks you should stop playing with the drinks. I always get the last laugh. You may play this card immediately after you lose fortitude from a card played by another player. You may not play this card if you reduce that fortitude loss. That player loses 2 fortitude. I'm going to save this healing for the dungeon. You may play this card when a sometimes, anytime, or drink card would make 1 or more players gain fortitude. That fortitude gain is reduced to 0. 2 copies of, and that's why we avoid casting Giant Growth indoors. Pick another player, they lose 2 fortitude. I know there's gold in here somewhere. You may play this card and about to lose gold. Pick another player, they pay you 1 gold. You still lose the gold. 2 copies of, no, I would never cast Warp Wood on a friend's chair. Pick another player, they lose 2 fortitude. Here's a little trick I learned at the Mage's Collegium. You dazzle others. Each player pays you 1 gold. Playing with portals. You may play this card when another player makes you lose fortitude. That damage is redirected to the player of your choice. This could be the player hitting you. I know I had a drink around here somewhere. Ignore a drink. What's up your sleeve? Take control of a round of gambling. Pick another player and force them to leave the round. I'm just stirring in a little magic. Add the effect, gain 1 fortitude, and draw 2 cards from your character deck to a drink. Moderation in all things, including moderation. Pick another player, they gain 2 alcohol content. 2 copies of, oh, you found my exploding decoy wand. Pick another player, they lose 1 fortitude. Wench, what's on tap this evening? Look at your drink me pile and put them back in any order. I'm heading up the bar, let me get you something. You may play this card during the order a drink phase of your turn. After ordering at least 1 drink for another player, pay 1 gold to in. Look at the top 3 cards of the drink deck, place 1 of them face down in your drink me pile, place the other face down in any other player's drink me piles. 6 of a kind, what are the odds? Take control of a round of gambling. Gallantly order elven wine. You may play this after another player reveals a drink. Instead of its usual effects, this drink has gained 3 alcohol content. Any non-drink cards can change the drink's effects, still affect it normally. 2 copies of I'll sit this one out to give someone else a chance. You may play this card when you must ante to leave the round. This spell livened up the night parties at the Collegium. Add the effects, gain 1 alcohol content, and discard 2 cards from your hand to a drink. And finally, you can't hit what you can't see. Ignore an action sometimes or anytime card that affects your fortitude. So it's kind of fun. It's kind of all over the place. Lots of changing stuff or redirecting things, which is sounds really fun. Another thing I think, like I've said in other videos, would be really fun with this game is if you're playing it, if you kind of role play your character. Like he's kind of a he's kind of like a college guy that's like messing with people. Who's gonna have a different attitude than Liswick, who's like a collector and she's obsessed with her items, or like we had Zakim, who's a drunken master, or like we have the orc character or an elf character. They're gonna act different. Their cards, reading the card names is gonna make a difference versus just, oh, I'm gonna play this ditch me this ditch me this does that. If you actually read them out and kind of play around, I think you'll make the game more fun. So we have Sarah the Fleet-Footed, the human rogue. So jump through our regular set of cards. Gambling. So she actually has a different stack. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of those. But then she has 3 copies of I Raise. In the regular winning hands. Play the drinks. Bring my friends some drinks. Tip the wench, and I don't think so. So that's kind of neat. So Joram had 1 less of the wench card because he had another card with a wench later on, which I'm looking at his deck. She has 1 less starting a gambling, 1 more I raising. So little slight differences like that can actually be sort of interesting. Alright, so her cards are What's Up Your Sleeve? Take control of a round of gambling, pick another player and force them to leave the round of gambling. You get a knife, and you get a knife, and you get a knife. Pick up the 3 other players and each lose 1 fortitude. Swift counterattack. You may play this card immediately after his fortitude, played by another player. That player loses 2 fortitude. Hide in the shadows. Ignore action or sometimes card that affects your fortitude or alcohol content. Friendly distraction. Add 2 alcohol content to a drink. 2 copies of Does This Taste Like Poison to You? Pick another player, they lose 1 fortitude and gain 1 alcohol content. A true rogue gets the job done undetected. Pick another player, they lose 1 fortitude. This fortitude cannot be reduced, negated, or ignored. 1 too many and my feet won't be so fleet. Ignore a drink. 2 copies of Not Now, I'm Sharpening My Blades. You may play this card when you must ante, instead you may leave the round or ignore a drink. Go away, I'm arranging my daggers. You may play this card when you must ante, instead leave the round of gambling. I always bring a bit of extra coin. Play this card when you're about to lose gold, use gold from the inn rather than your stash. Cat-like reflexes. You may play this card when an action sometimes or anytime card would make you lose fortitude. Reduce the fortitude you lose by 1. The player who played this card loses 1 fortitude. I think these drinks might have been poisoned. Ignore a drink. If you have any cards in your drink me pile, shuffle them back into the drink deck, then put 1 card from the drink me deck into your drink me pile. She's got 3 copies of You Can't Block What You Can't See. Now a lot of characters have 3 copies of cards. You could only have 2. Pick another player, they lose 1 fortitude. Draw a card from your character deck. If you play this character during your action phase, you may play another action card this phase. 2 copies of Time for Some Combat Training. Pick another player, they lose 2 fortitude. Rogues don't always do it from behind. Pick another player, they lose 2 fortitude. Sorry, I had to test my knockout darts. Pick another player, they gain 1 alcohol content. Draw a card from your character deck. I should warn you, I'm pretty good at this game. Take control of a round of gambling. Draw 2 cards from your character deck. And finally, impressively dangerous knife tricks. You astound the others. Each player pays you 1 gold. So that was hers. So there's some interesting, lots of attacking cards. Makes sense. Alright, and finally we have our drink deck. So we're going to have our light ale with chaser, dark ale with chaser, wine with chaser. So I noticed they did change how these cards look compared to the originals. So this is like original, so it's half of that's really big artwork. They kind of shrunk it down, which is a little bit nicer. I don't know what set they started that in, but I like it. We're going to have some new ones here as well, so I'm just going to go through them as they come up. We have Pixie Punch, which is a 3 alcohol content. When you need a little private pixie time, it's got to be Pixie Punch TM. And then Pixie Punch with a chaser. I like how small it is. We have a Pot of Tea, -1 alcohol. Suitable for a drunkard and teetotalers alike. Rice Wine Drink, 3 fortitude. If a rice wine was not a result of a drink event or a chaser, you may split it with another player rounded up. Rice wine cannot be affected by any other card that splits alcohol. After you. We got the Dragon Breath Ale, which is a 4. The Fine Ambrosia Nectar of the Gods. The wench offers you a special drink. This is a drink event. You may pay 2 gold to the inn if you do 1 alcohol content but +4 fortitude. Otherwise, discard Fine Ambrosia and drink from the drink deck instead. Some Dirty Dishwater, which is -fortitude. Trove Swill, -fortitude and -1 fortitude and 1 alcohol, but if you're a troll you get 2 alcohol instead. The Ogre Brew, -1 fortitude, 2 alcohol. If you're a half ogre you get 3 alcohol. Water, says 0. Holy Water, 2 fortitude. Wizard's Brew, 2 alcohol and 2 fortitude. And then we have some events, which have some new artwork on this. We have Round Down the House. Reveal a drink with possible chases from the drink deck. If you reveal a drink event before revealing a drink, discard and reveal again. Each player, including you, reveals a copy of the revealed drink. So basically, you draw one, and then everyone gets a copy of that card. So we have the challenge. Sorry for the challenge. If so, reveal 2 drinks from the drink deck and drink them. After revealing drinks must be dealt separately. If you reveal a drink deck that is not the result of a chaser, discard and reveal again. If these drinks do not knock you out, each other player gives you 1 gold. If you're not up to the challenge, discard it and drink the top card of the drink deck. So if you can maybe be close to eliminating someone by getting rid of their gold, or if you really need gold, you might have to try this and risk it. Otherwise, it might not be worth it. 2 copies of Drinking Contest. Each player reveals a drink from the drink deck and drinks it. The player who reveals the drink with the highest alcohol content, even if they avoid the effects of the drink, wins 1 gold from each other player. There's a tie. Players who tied reveal the drinks and drink again until there is a winner. The effects of the drink event are ignored and they count as 0 alcohol content. So you've seen those guys all before. We have Grog. A pint a day keeps the scurvy away. Grog with chaser. Shot of rum. Bottoms up. Gnomish inspirational ale. 2 alcohol, draw 2 cards from your character deck. This stuff is really inspirational. Dwarven Firewater. Orcish Rock Gut, -2 fortitude. And if you are an orc instead, +2 alcohol. the Elven line, and Elven line with Chaser. And then they're going to have the symbol 5 on the bottom just to keep track of those. Alright, so that was all of our decks. And that's our set number 5. Alright, so the one last thing I wanted to do before I go is just kind of show what the box looks like with all the sets. Like I said, as I said earlier in the video, as I get more sets, I will add more stuff in here. And I can kind of show it off. But right now, I only have, as of currently right now in this video, I have 3 sets. I have 1, 2, and 5. So you can see 1, 2, and 5 on there. So I only have 1 spot of the tray actually filled. I kind of did was I took just the character cards and I spaced them out. You could be able to get about 24 in a box, and there's so far they've said there's 50 characters. At least last time I saw there's 50 characters released, so they might release more. So if you can fit 25 in each set, that means you'll have 2 rows completely filled. Plus, if there's you'll have all the drinks as well, because there's at least 8, unless there's some extra ones that come in the other stuff, plus promo cards, things like that. So it's at least another, they're like half-size decks, but they're not going to fill up an entire side, even with those. So I'm going to say you can probably, if you buy this box, you should be able to fit every character in here. And have a little bit of extra room. Again, depends on if they have extra decks, because Wizard here is a little bit extra thicker. Just taking up half, not quite half the room as another character, but just taking up part of a spot. So if you get too many characters that have extra decks like that. The other thing that's going to come up, though, which might throw off these numbers a bit, is set 6 is called Villains, and it actually has extra boss decks and cards for that. So even if you have all the regular playable characters in 2 rows, they'll fit. Depending on how many there's, I know there's 4 in there, and then there's, I think, 1, 2, 3, 4 or 5 other like boss decks. So even if each boss deck was like the same size as like one of these dungeons, so if you had to add, or drink decks, sorry. So if you had to add another, so I have 3 here, if you had to add another 5 for each of the 8 sets, plus another like 6 sets, even if you count it as just one of each of these, I can fit 24 in here. That's not going to be 24 filling out. So it's going to be very close. But the other thing to point out, or a couple other things to point out, is this should hopefully hold all the cards. I don't know. I currently have my 5 tokens in here. I separated white beads into one, red into the other, and all the other tokens into another. So I don't know if I would keep much more than that. I might be like, hey, I can play an 8-player game. That's the most I ever want to do. I don't know if I keep more than 8 tokens of each. Which right now I have 12. Because I have 4 from each set. So I don't even know if I'd ever keep more than that. 12 at the most, maybe, just in case something gets lost or whatever, so you have an extra. But yeah, I don't know if I'd go any more than that. They have a smaller bag here, which I don't know what to do with necessarily. So I kind of have that, and then they have a bigger long bag, which there's a very, it's a sizable difference in there. So I put all of the regular gold coins in here from 3 sets, and I think this set actually might have probably about the same amount. But you can see though, that's taking up half of this box. So, I mean, I might be able to cram it in this one over here, I guess. So, if I do that, that basically leaves me with whatever this I'll use it for. But that leaves me with my 1 extra room for all my other cards, which I can throw all my extra blocks in here for now. Just to kind of help hold this stuff from sliding around. So this looks like, if you get this should hold all your cards. Unless they create a lot more extra decks I don't know about, or this or that. I know there was also a Kickstarter campaign for a box called the Smorgasgas, which is another storage box, because I think they started saying, I don't know if people were thinking they didn't have enough room, but it's also, but that that Kickstarter box has a character for the regular Red Dragon Inn, and then has some extra cards for character cards for the deck building game. And I think that box is designed to be a little bit smaller. It's supposed to be for the deck building game, not necessarily an extra set for this. But again, it was Kickstarter exclusive, so it might be hard to track down. So the last thing I want to point out are sleeves, because I sleeve all my cards. I tend to use penny sleeves because they're cheaper. And I have so many board games that it makes sense. This is a game where you're going to be probably shuffling your deck a lot, so I would recommend sleeves. Just because that way they don't get bent a lot if you're going to play it often. Because your decks are probably going to get shuffled. Now, penny sleeves, which are 100 sleeves for $1, that's why they're called penny sleeves. They have a little bit of extra edge on the side, a little bit extra top. They're a little loose. But they're still decent. They keep fingerprints off of it. They keep them from getting damaged on the side. Sometimes they rip, but since they're a penny, you just throw them away and you grab a new one. Now, if I was only playing, this is the only game I was buying, I only bought like 2 different other games, I would probably buy better quality sleeves for everything. But since I buy so many different board games, as you can see from my channel, I don't have the money to buy $3 packs of sleeves for 20 cards. Now, here's where the issue runs in. I'm going to see if I can get a good angle onto this. So, these fit in here kind of tight. So if I put them in here, the edges might bend a little bit on the plastic. It's not going to wreck the cards. It just might bend them a little bit. And then how they look sitting next to a divider, you can still see the name. It's just kind of a little glossed over because of the extra card sleeve. Although some of the, like the outside, it seems like it's a little bit, it's actually a little bit tighter. So if you can tell, you can see it doesn't go all the way down on here. It's actually at an angle. I don't know why that is, but I don't like that. And then if I put it on this one, let me see. Yeah, see, they're not going all the way down. They're getting, so I might have to angle them slightly to get these to sit in there nicely, which is fine. I can do that. It's just going to also leave me with less room. So now to flip these over, I do have some better sleeves. So these are a little bit more higher quality. I don't know what brand these are off the top of my head. But you can see how there's not a whole lot of extra room on there. There's no give, no extra room on the top. So if I put these in here, it goes right to the top. You can still see it. They fit in there nicely. So now I'm having the same issue on this side. If I try and put this in here, you can see how it's not going all the way to the bottom. Put it in that way, it's fine. I put it in that, it's turning. And it's kind of a little bit on that. So I think that's more of the box issue than it is the card issue. So if I have a regular card, see if I put a regular card in there, it's the same thing. It's not quite touching the bottom. I think that's because of the way this box is designed. I think these walls are a little bit pushed over. So that's not maybe necessarily the sleeves. But just so you have an idea of if you're looking at using one sleeve versus the other. I think they'll both work. I don't think these being a little bit, bent or tipped in there is really that big of a deal. But if you think it is, or you don't want that, you don't want to buy higher quality sleeves, then don't maybe expect to buy this as your ultimate storage solution. You might want to still buy it so you get all your old dividers for all the old characters and your other things. But maybe it might not work for this game if you sleeve. But I like to at least show that off just so you have some idea. Alright, that's what I got for Red Dragon Inn, Set 5, the character Trove. Check out the rest of the videos. See you guys then. Bye.